When I first opened my eyes, everything felt wrong. The room was too white. The air smelled like antiseptic and something artificial. My body felt heavy, like it wasn't mine anymore. For a few seconds, I couldn't remember where I was or who I was. I just blinked, trying to make sense of the ceiling lights above me, humming softly like distant stars. Then I heard the steady beep. Beep! Beep of a heart monitor beside me. My throat burned. My lips were cracked. I tried to move my hand, but a dull ache shot through my arm. Tubes, wires, IV drips. It hit me all at once. I was in a hospital, and when the memories returned, they came in flashes. The sound of rain pounding against the windshield. Max's voice shouting my name. A blinding light. A scream, and then darkness. Endless, suffocating darkness. My heart started racing as realization washed over me like cold water. I had been in an accident. But how long ago? Eleanor, a voice whispered. I turned weakly toward the sound. A nurse stood there, eyes wide with shock and joy. She immediately pressed a button on the wall. Doctor, she's awake! She's awake! The door burst open, footsteps rushing in. The nurse, the doctor, 2 others, all surrounding me with warmth and chaos. Someone took my wrist to check my pulse. Another shined a light into my eyes. How are you feeling, Eleanor? The doctor asked gently. Can you hear me? My voice cracked. Yes. What happened? You've been in a coma, dear. The nurse said softly. But you're awake now. You're safe. A coma. The words hung in the air like fog. How long? I croaked, my throat trembling. The nurse looked at the doctor, hesitant. The doctor took a breath. Almost 6 months. 6 months. My mind froze. Half a year of my life. Gone. Just gone. Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. My heart pounded painfully, trying to remember something. Anything. From that missing time. My parents, Max, Clara, did they visit? Were they here? I opened my mouth, but before I could ask, the nurse smiled brightly. We'll inform your family right away. They'll be overjoyed. Overjoyed. That word gave me strength. Despite the confusion, I felt hope bloom quietly in my chest. Max. He must have waited for me. He promised he would never leave. That thought was enough to keep me from breaking apart completely. Hours passed. The nurses changed my IV. The doctor tested my reflexes. My parents were called. But it wasn't until later that night that I heard familiar voices in the hallway. Mom, please calm down. She's awake, Clara. My baby's awake. Mom burst into the room, tears flooding her cheeks. My father followed, his expression a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. I smiled weakly, and Mom ran to my bedside, kissing my forehead. Oh, sweetheart, we thought. We thought we lost you, she sobbed. I tried to lift my hand. Mom, I'm okay. My voice cracked, but she smiled through her tears anyway. And then, I saw her, Clara, my sister. She stood quietly at the door, her arms crossed, wearing a perfectly tailored cream blazer and an expression I couldn't quite read. She didn't run to me like Mom did. She just smiled faintly and said, Welcome back, Ellie. Ellie. She hadn't called me that in years. I swallowed hard. Something about her tone felt off, but I ignored it. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was shock. I was just happy to see her alive and well. Later that night, when everyone had left and the nurses dimmed the lights, I lay staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. 6 months. My mind kept repeating it like a broken record. Where was Max? He should have been the first person through that door. He'd promised, hadn't he? Before the crash. No matter what happens, I'll be there. But the night passed in silence. No familiar voice, no comforting touch. When morning came, the sunlight poured into the room. The nurse brought breakfast and checked my vitals. Then, just as she was about to leave, I heard muffled voices from the hallway. Mom's voice, low, worried. Clara's, sharp, hushed. I shouldn't have heard them, but the door wasn't fully closed. I don't think it's a good idea for Max to see her yet, Clara said, her voice tight. My heart skipped a beat. Max, Mom sighed. But he's been asking. It's just too soon. Clara interrupted quickly. He's engaged now. Seeing Eleanor might confuse him. Silence. I froze. Every word echoed in my mind, like a blade slicing through me. Engaged? Max? No, that couldn't be right. Mom whispered something I couldn't catch, and Clara continued, her tone soft but firm. I know it's complicated, but it's been 6 months. People move on. Max tried to hold on for a long time, but he couldn't live in grief forever. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I gripped the blanket tightly, my breath trembling, my vision blurred, not from medication, but from heartbreak. Engaged. He got engaged. And to who? I didn't even need to hear the rest. My chest already knew the truth. My mind refused to accept. Clara's next words confirmed it anyway. Mom, please don't make it sound worse than it is. Max and we didn't plan this. It just happened. The world tilted. The heart monitor beeped faster. My throat burned with the urge to scream, but no sound came out. My sister, my boyfriend, while I was sleeping, while I was gone. I pressed my trembling hand against my chest, tears falling silently onto the pillow. The nurse rushed in, worried about my heart rate, but I closed my eyes quickly and pretended to be asleep. I didn't want anyone to see the storm behind my eyelids, because in that moment, something inside me cracked. Quietly, completely. The girl who had gone into that coma, the girl who trusted, who loved purely, she was gone. And the woman who had just woken up would never be the same again. That night, as the machines hummed beside me and the world outside drifted into darkness, I whispered to myself, almost inaudibly, he got engaged, to my sister, and a single tear rolled down my cheek, vanishing into the white pillow, like a promise buried beneath 6 months of silence. The first time I looked at myself in the hospital mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Her skin was pale, almost translucent. Her cheeks had sunken in. Her eyes, my eyes, looked hollow, as if someone had dimmed the light behind them. 6 months. That's how long I'd been lying in that bed, motionless, while the world kept spinning without me. When the doctor finally said I was stable enough to go home, I thought I'd feel relief, but instead, I felt dread curling in my chest. Home wasn't the same anymore. I could feel it. Even before stepping out at the hospital doors, Mom insisted on arranging everything. A warm welcome, flowers, even a cake that said, "Welcome back, Ellie." In shaky pink icing, she tried to smile through her tears as she pushed my wheelchair up the familiar front steps. "Your room's just as you left it," she said softly. "Clara's been keeping it clean for you." Clara again. Her name alone felt heavy now. When we entered the living room, everything looked the same. The same family photos, the same couch, the same faint smell of lavender. But there were new things too. A photo frame on the mantel showing Clara and Max at what looked like a charity event, her hand on his arm, his smile forced. Mom noticed me staring and quickly said, "You know how things get. After time passes." People tried to stay close. I didn't reply. My hands trembled on the armrests of the chair. I didn't need anyone to explain. I understood enough. That night, lying in my old bed, I listened to the muffled sounds of the house. Mom in the kitchen, Dad watching TV softly, and then footsteps outside my door, light, careful ones, a gentle knock. "Come in," I said, my voice quiet. Clara entered, holding a tray with soup and medicine. She looked radiant, her hair styled perfectly, Her perfume subtle but expensive. Everything about her screamed put together. "Hey," she said, setting the tray down. "I thought you might be hungry." I nodded slowly. "Thanks." She sat on the edge of my bed, eyes soft, her voice low. "It's really a miracle, you know. When they told me you woke up, I didn't believe it. You were gone so long." I stared at her. "You visited me?" Her expression faltered just slightly before she smiled. "Of course. Every week." Something in her tone didn't sound right. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or pride, but it left a sour taste in my mouth. After a pause, I asked the question that had been haunting me since yesterday. "Have you seen Max?" She blinked, just for a second, but enough. Her shoulders stiffened before she looked away. "He knows you're awake," she said finally. "He wanted to come, but I thought it'd be too soon. You need rest." Rest. That's what everyone said when they didn't want to tell the truth. I smiled faintly. "You're engaged, aren't you?" Her eyes widened, color draining from her face. "What?" I tilted my head slightly. "I overheard you at the hospital. You were talking to Mom." Her lips parted, searching for a lie, maybe, or an excuse. Finally she said, "Eleanor, I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Everything was so uncertain. We thought you'd never—" "Wake up." I finished for her. She nodded slowly, guilt flickering across her eyes. "Max was a mess after the accident. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I tried to help him through it. One thing led to another, and—" I looked down at my trembling hands. My nails dug into my palms, but I forced myself to stay calm. "And now you're getting married." Her voice cracked slightly. "We haven't set a date yet. It's complicated." I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand how she could look me in the eyes and say those words. But instead, I smiled. A soft, cold smile. "Congratulations, Clara." Her brows furrowed. "Ellie, don't. I mean it." I interrupted. "If you love him and he loves you, then I suppose that's all that matters now, right?" She looked uneasy, biting her lip. For once, she didn't have a perfect answer. After a long pause, she whispered, "You're taking this really well." I met her gaze steadily. "What else can I do? You both made your choices while I was asleep." Her mouth opened, but she couldn't find words. "Good night, Clara," I said softly. She hesitated, then nodded and left, closing the door behind her. As soon as she was gone, I let the mask drop. Tears welled in my eyes, spilling silently down my cheeks. I clutched the blanket tightly, biting my lip to keep from sobbing out loud. So it was true. The man who once promised to grow old with me, who held my hand and said he'd never let go, now belonged to my sister, and she had the audacity to bring me soup. The next morning, I forced myself to stand for the first time. My legs wobbled, the world spun, but I needed to move. I needed to see him. Mom tried to stop me, but I told her I just wanted some fresh air. I didn't tell her that my destination wasn't the garden. It was the small cafe 2 blocks from Max's office, the one we used to go to every Friday. I didn't even know if he still went there, but I had to try. The crisp morning air hit my skin, sharp and real. For the first time since waking, I felt alive. My steps were shaky, but I kept going. When I reached the cafe, I saw him through the glass. Max, sitting by the window. Same dark hair, same gentle face, but different. His eyes looked tired, heavier somehow, and sitting across from him was Clara. They were laughing about something, and her hand brushed his across the table. It felt like a knife twisting inside me. I wanted to turn around, but my feet refused to move. I just stood there, frozen, watching through the glass like a ghost watching her old life. Then, suddenly, his eyes lifted. He saw me. The cup in his hand slipped and shattered on the table. Clara turned in surprise, and her smile vanished when she saw me too. The world seemed to stop. I opened the door slowly. The bell above it chimed, breaking the silence. Eleanor, Max stammered, standing up so fast, his chair fell backward. His face went pale. You're awake. I forced a smile. Surprise. Clara grabbed his arm, whispering something I couldn't hear. For a long moment, none of us moved. Just 3 people trapped in a silence so thick, it suffocated the air. Finally, I spoke. I didn't mean to interrupt your coffee date. I just wanted to say hi. Max opened his mouth, but no words came out. Clara forced a smile, her voice trembling. Ellie, you shouldn't be out alone yet. Oh, don't worry about me, I said, my tone calm, almost too calm. After all, I've had plenty of rest. The sarcasm slipped out before I could stop it. Max's eyes filled with regret. Eleanor, please. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Max? I whispered, my voice cracking. You're engaged to my sister. Tell me how that's not what I think. He stepped closer, his expression breaking. I thought you were gone. I waited. I swear I did. But months passed. And Clara helped you grieve. I finished bitterly. He fell silent. For a long time, I just stared at him. The man I once loved more than anyone. The man who promised forever. And all I could think was how easily forever turned into 6 months. I nodded slowly. I understand. You don't need to explain. Ellie, please, I said softly, backing away. Just let me go. I turned and walked out before either of them could stop me. The sunlight outside was too bright, the air too heavy. My legs trembled, my heart screamed, but I kept walking. I didn't stop until I reached the quiet park, where Max once carved our initials into a bench. They were still there, faded, weathered, almost gone, like us. I sat down and whispered to the wind. Maybe this is what waking up truly means. Realizing the world doesn't wait for you to open your eyes. That night, as I lay in bed again, I promised myself something. I wouldn't cry for them anymore. I wouldn't beg, or question, or look back. If they had rewritten my story while I slept, then I would start a new one, without them. Days passed after that confrontation in the cafe. Each one felt like a strange dream, too vivid to be real, too painful to be imagined. Mom kept pretending nothing was wrong. Clara acted like everything between us was normal, as if she hadn't destroyed my world while I was asleep. And Max, I didn't see him again. Not at the house, not at the cafe. It was as though he'd vanished, leaving only silence behind. But silence can be dangerous. It lets you hear things you weren't meant to hear. One afternoon, as I sat by the window, sketching absent-mindedly, a habit I'd picked up to quiet my thoughts, I heard voices downstairs, the kind of hushed conversation people have when they don't want to be overheard. Mom's voice. Clara's. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I truly wasn't. But Clara's tone was sharp, almost anxious. She's starting to remember things, Clara said in a whisper. You need to make sure she doesn't push herself too fast. Mom sighed heavily. Clara, she deserves to know the truth eventually. The truth? Clara scoffed softly. What truth? That she was reckless. That the accident happened because she couldn't listen? That she destroyed everyone's peace of mind? My grip on the pencil tightened. Reckless, destroyed peace. Mom's voice softened. Don't talk about your sister like that. It was an accident. Yes, Clara replied coldly. An accident that changed everything. You think Max would have fallen apart if she hadn't… Clara, Mom interrupted sternly. Enough. There was silence for a moment. I leaned slightly closer to the stairwell, heart racing. Then Clara's voice dropped lower. If she finds out what really happened, she'll hate me. And I can't… Her words cut off suddenly, followed by footsteps. I backed away quickly, returning to my bed, just as she appeared at the top of the stairs. She froze when she saw me awake and alert, sketchbook on my lap. Were you listening? She asked, her voice tight. I smiled faintly, pretending confusion. Listening? No, I was drawing. She studied me for a long time. Her eyes sharp, calculating. You shouldn't strain yourself, Ellie. Your mind needs time to recover. The doctor said memory lapses are normal. I tilted my head slightly. Why? Worried I might remember something inconvenient. Her jaw tensed. For a moment, her expression cracked. A flicker of fear before she forced a smile. You're imagining things? Maybe, I murmured. Or maybe I'm just starting to see things clearly. She hesitated, then turned and left without another word. The moment she was gone, I exhaled shakily. My mind was a storm. What was she afraid I'd remember? And what did she mean? If she finds out what really happened? That night, I dreamed of the accident again. Rain, headlights, Max shouting my name, Clara's voice in the distance. But this time, something was different. In the dream, I saw her reflection in the rearview mirror, standing behind me as I opened the car door that night. She'd said something. I couldn't remember what, but the tone was sharp, urgent. When I woke up, my heart was pounding. My hands were cold. The fragments of memory were coming back. Slowly, painfully, but they were there. Over the next few days, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Max didn't visit, but I saw his car once, parked down the street. The engine idled for a few minutes before driving off. He was watching the house, watching me. Clara grew restless. She spent more time outside, constantly checking her phone, snapping at Mum for small things. And whenever I walked into a room, conversations stopped. It was like living in a house full of ghosts. Everyone alive, but no one honest. Then one afternoon, a familiar face appeared at the door. Eleanor! It was Sophie, my closest friend since college. She threw her arms around me, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe you're actually awake. I smiled weakly. You knew? She nodded. Clara told me, eventually. She said you wouldn't want visitors at the hospital. My heart clenched. She said that? Sophie frowned. Yes, I wanted to come, Ellie. I really did. But she said the doctors restricted visits. I only got updates through her and Max. Through her, I repeated, bitterness curling in my stomach. Sophie sat down, holding my hand. You look better than I expected, but you seem different. I feel different, I admitted quietly. Sophie, can I ask you something? After the accident, how were things between Max and Clara? She hesitated. Eleanor, please, I whispered. I need to know, she sighed, glancing at the floor. Max was broken. Everyone thought you'd never wake up. Clara was always there for him, helping with the hospital, bringing him food, driving him to therapy sessions. It started as concern. Then people started talking. Rumors, she said carefully, that Clara was comforting him too much, that she was wearing your clothes sometimes when she visited. I didn't want to believe it, but when I saw them together at the hospital once, the way she held his hand, my chest tightened. Did he pull away? No, Sophie said softly. That's what hurt most. I felt the tears rising, but I swallowed them back. Sophie squeezed my hand. Ellie, I don't know what happened between them, but I do know this. Max never looked happy. Not really. It was like he was trapped in something he couldn't escape. Trapped. That word lingered in my mind long after Sophie left. That night, I found myself in the attic, a place I hadn't been since before the accident. The air was thick with dust, the faint smell of old wood and forgotten memories. I wasn't sure what I was looking for until I saw it. A small box with my name on it. Inside were old photos, some letters, and my phone. The screen was cracked, but by some miracle, it turned on. There were hundreds of unread messages, mostly from before the accident. And then, one from Clara, sent the night before the crash. Clara, you don't deserve him, Ellie. You take everything for granted. Maybe you should step aside for once. I froze. Then another one, the same night, from Max. Max, Where are you? I'm worried. Call me when you get this. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. Dozens of missed calls. A few from Clara too. All in the hours before I lost control of the car. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. And then, near the end, one unsent draft. From me. Me. Unsent. Clara, stop following me. You've gone too far. I stared at the words until they blurred. Suddenly I remembered. That night, Clara had come to my place, furious, accusing me of ruining everything. I'd driven away crying, angry, distracted. And then, the crash. My chest heaved. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. One by one, she'd followed me. She'd provoked me. She'd known I was upset. And now she was engaged to Max. I closed the box slowly, a cold calm settling over me. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was something darker. Clara hadn't just taken my life while I slept. She'd helped destroy it before I even closed my eyes. The next morning, I walked downstairs, my heart pounding but my face composed. Clara was sipping coffee at the table, scrolling through her phone. Morning, she said casually. Morning, I replied, sitting across from her. I found my phone last night. Her fingers froze mid-scroll. Oh? I thought it was lost in the accident, she said too quickly. I thought so too, I said, smiling faintly. But it seems it found its way home. Along with some interesting messages. Her eyes flicked up to mine. Guarded. Messages. Yes, I said quietly. From you. For a moment, the air went still. Her face didn't move, but her knuckles whitened around the mug. Then she forced a laugh. Oh, come on, Ellie, that was ages ago. We said things we didn't mean. I leaned forward slightly. You told me to step aside, and then I crashed that night. You wouldn't happen to know why you were following me, would you? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Because, I whispered. I'm starting to remember things. Clara stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floors. You need rest, she snapped, turning away. But I saw it, the flicker of panic in her eyes. And I knew. Whatever she'd done, whatever she'd said to me that night, it wasn't innocent. As she stormed out of the room, I whispered to myself, you can hide the truth, Clara, but you can't hide forever. When I woke up the next morning, the sunlight streamed through my curtains, soft and golden. For the first time since I'd opened my eyes in that hospital bed, I felt almost normal. I had breakfast with Mom and Dad, laughed a little at their attempts to cheer me up, and even managed to put on some light makeup. But deep inside, a gnawing unease kept whispering. Something wasn't right. Later that afternoon, Mom announced we were having guests over for dinner. It's been so long since we've had the house full, she said cheerfully. Your sister is coming with someone special. I smiled faintly, though my stomach tightened. Someone special. Mom's eyes twinkled. You'll see, dear. That phrase haunted me until the doorbell finally rang. I was in the living room when my sister, Clara, walked in. Her arm wrapped around Max's. My breath hitched. My smile froze. The air seemed to leave the room. Max looked different, still devastatingly handsome, but more mature. His dark hair was neatly styled, his jawline sharper, his eyes, those same deep brown eyes, flicked to me for a moment and then away, as if the sight of me hurt, or maybe as if he felt guilty. Eleanor, Clara said, her tone overly bright. I'm so happy you're awake. You look amazing. She rushed to hug me, and I forced myself to return it, though my heart was racing. Then I noticed it, the glittering diamond ring on her finger. My pulse stuttered. My gaze darted between the ring and Max's uneasy face. Mom, oblivious to the tension, clasped her hands together. Surprise! Clara and Max are engaged. They wanted to tell you themselves. My world stopped. For a heartbeat, I heard nothing but the rush of blood in my ears. Engaged? To my sister? Max cleared his throat, stepping forward slightly. Eleanor, I I wanted to come sooner. I just didn't know how to face you. After everything, Clara's voice chimed in, overly sweet. It just happened, Ellie. We grew close while you were in the hospital. I helped him through the hardest time of his life. You can understand that, can't you? Understand. My fingers trembled around the teacup I was holding. I wanted to scream, to demand answers. But I could see Mom and Dad watching, hopeful smiles on their faces, thinking this was some heartwarming family reunion. So, I swallowed the lump in my throat and whispered, "Congratulations!" Clara's smile widened, and she held out her hand, showing off the ring again. Isn't it beautiful? Max proposed last week. Max's eyes finally met mine. There was something like regret flickering in them. A silent apology that cut deeper than any words could. I couldn't take it anymore. "I'm so happy for you both," I lied, standing abruptly. "Excuse me, I'm still getting tired easily." Without waiting for a response, I rushed upstairs and locked my bedroom door. Then the tears came, silent, shaking sobs that I tried to muffle against my pillow. How could he? How could she? I thought of the countless nights Max and I had spent dreaming about the future, our wedding plans, the little cottage by the lake we wanted, our hopes of traveling the world together. I thought of his voice whispering, "You're my forever, Eleanor." And now, he was going to marry my sister. The betrayal didn't just hurt, it shattered me. But beneath all the heartbreak, something else began to spark. Something small and fierce. Anger. Because even if I'd been in a coma, even if life had paused for me, they had made choices. Choices that stabbed me in the back. Later that night, I overheard Mom and Clara chatting in the kitchen. "She's stronger than I expected," Clara said softly. I thought she'd make a scene. Mom sighed. "She's been through enough, Clara. Just be kind, alright?" "I will," Clara replied sweetly. "As long as she doesn't try to come between us again." Her words hit me like ice water. Again? I clenched my fists. So that was how she saw it. As if I was the intruder, the one in the wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, my mind replaying every moment, every smile, every whisper, every promise Max had ever made. And by morning, the tears had dried. Something inside me shifted. If they thought I was weak, they were wrong. I had lost a year of my life, but I wouldn't lose myself. Not again. When I went downstairs for breakfast, Clara was already there, humming happily, showing Mom a wedding magazine. Max sat silently beside her, his jaw tight. I smiled faintly and said, "I'd love to help with the wedding." The look on Clara's face was priceless. Half delight, half suspicion, and in that moment, I knew one thing for sure. If fate had taken everything from me, I was going to take my life back, piece by piece. Even if it meant facing the people who'd broken me. Even if it meant confronting the man I once loved, and the sister who stole him, and maybe, just maybe, finding out the truth about what really happened while I was gone. Because deep down, I had a feeling not everything was as it seemed. The days that followed were strange, almost like living someone else's life. Clara visited often, bubbling with excitement about wedding venues and gowns, while Mom acted like everything was perfect. Dad mostly kept quiet, avoiding eye contact whenever Max's name came up. And Max himself, he barely spoke to me at all, but I noticed everything. The way his eyes followed me when he thought I wasn't looking. The way Clara's hand always clung a little too tightly to his arm. And the way tension simmered beneath their smiles, like cracks beneath glass. Something wasn't right. Something about their love story didn't add up. One evening, I went for a walk down the quiet road behind our house. It was sunset, the same path Max and I used to take after work, when everything was still simple and filled with laughter. I didn't expect to run into him there. "Eleanor," he said quietly when he saw me. His voice was soft, uncertain. I didn't think you still came here." "I didn't think you did either," I replied, my tone colder than I meant it to be. He hesitated, then walked closer, the dying light catching in his eyes. "How have you been feeling?" I almost laughed. "Physically? Fine. Emotionally? You tell me," he winced. "You have every right to be angry." "Angry?" I tilted my head. "You were my fiancé, Max. I woke up from a coma to find you engaged to my sister. Angry doesn't begin to cover it." For a long moment, silence stretched between us, heavy and bitter. Then he exhaled slowly. "It wasn't supposed to happen that way." "Then tell me," I said quietly. "How did it happen?" He looked away, running a hand through his hair. When you fell into the coma, I was broken. For months, I visited every day. The doctors said there was almost no hope of you waking up. Your parents stopped believing. Clara was there. She was the only one who kept telling me to eat, to rest, to keep going. I don't even know when it changed. One day, she kissed me, my chest constricted, and you kissed her back. He closed his eyes. I was weak. I thought you'd never wake up. I thought you were gone, Eleanor. I tried to move on. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him he should have waited. That love doesn't vanish just because life gets hard. But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I whispered, "And now you're marrying her." He met my eyes then, guilt written all over his face. "It's complicated." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Complicated? That's one way to describe betrayal." He took a hesitant step closer. "Eleanor, I never stopped caring about you. You have to believe that." "Do I?" I asked, my voice trembling now. "Because it feels like I'm the only one who remembers what we had." He looked torn, as if every part of him wanted to say something, but couldn't. Instead, he just said softly, "I'm sorry, sorry." That single word cut deeper than any blade. I turned to leave, my heart pounding. But before I could take a step, he added, "You should know something. About your accident." I froze. Slowly I turned back. "What about it?" He hesitated, eyes darting away. I don't know all the details. But Clara was there that night. The world seemed to tilt. "What?" "She didn't tell your parents. But I found out later. She met you at the bridge the night before the accident." My breath caught. The bridge. The same place where I'd lost control of my car. Where everything had gone black. He looked pained. "I didn't tell anyone because she swore it wasn't her fault. But she was the last person to see you." I could barely hear him over the pounding in my ears. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to cause more pain." "More pain," I repeated, voice rising. "You let me believe it was just an accident. You let me think I was the one who made a mistake." He stepped forward. "Eleanor, please." I shook my head and backed away. Don't come any closer. You've done enough." Then I turned and walked away, tears blurring my vision, the sound of my heartbeat roaring in my ears. When I reached home, I locked myself in my room again and replayed his words over and over. Clara was there that night. Suddenly, tiny memories began to resurface. The argument, the shouting, the flash of headlights. My sister's voice, sharp and angry. My chest tightened as realization dawned. Maybe my coma wasn't just fate. Maybe someone wanted me out of the picture. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I needed answers. I found Clara in the garden, her face glowing as she scrolled through photos of wedding dresses on her phone. "Hey," I said lightly. She looked up, smiling. "Morning, Ellie. You okay?" "Actually," I said calmly, sitting across from her, "I've been thinking about that night. The night of my accident." Her hand froze mid-scroll. "Why would you bring that up?" "Because Max told me you were there." Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second. Then she quickly composed herself. "He told you that?" "He's mistaken." I wasn't. I leaned forward, my tone quiet but sharp. "Then why do I remember you yelling at me? saying I didn't deserve him. Her face paled. "Ellie, you hit your head. You don't remember things clearly," she said quickly. "You're confused." "Maybe," I said softly, standing up. "But I'll find out the truth, whether you tell me or not." Her expression hardened, and for the first time, I saw it, the coldness behind her perfect smile. "Be careful, Eleanor. You're not as strong as you think," I smiled faintly. "Maybe not yet, but I'm stronger than before." And as I walked away, a quiet promise formed inside me. I wasn't just going to recover. I was going to expose everything. The lies, the betrayal, the accident. And if Clara had truly played a part in taking my life from me, then I would make sure she regretted it. The next few days passed like a blur of polite smiles and silent storms. On the surface, everything looked fine. Just two sisters planning a wedding and a man trying to play peacemaker. But underneath, the air was charged with suspicion. Every time Clara laughed, I saw the flicker of something dark in her eyes. Every time Max looked at me, guilt shadowed his face. And every night, the same memories haunted me. Headlights, shouting, the sound of tires skidding, and a scream that still echoed in my mind. I needed proof. So I began my quiet investigation. It started with my car, or what was left of it. Dad had kept it in an old garage behind our house, too sentimental to scrap it. The front was crushed, the windshield shattered, but some parts still looked untouched. I stood there one afternoon, heart racing as I opened the driver's door. Dust rose like ghosts around me. Inside, I found my old phone wedged under the passenger seat. The screen was cracked, but miraculously, it still turned on after charging. My fingers trembled as I unlocked it and scrolled through the messages. And there it was. A text from Clara, sent just 2 hours before the accident. "Meet me at the bridge. We need to talk about Max. Don't make me come to you." My breath caught. I remembered that night. I had gone to meet her. She'd been furious, accusing me of not appreciating Max, of being selfish, of ruining everything for her. And then, the memory blurred. Screeching tires, pain, darkness. I swallowed hard and pressed a hand to my chest. "You were there, Clara. You lied to everyone." Later that evening, I found Max standing outside by the garden fence, staring at the sky. I hesitated before approaching him. "Max," I said softly. He turned, looking weary. "Eleanor, I didn't expect you out here." "I found a message," I said quietly. "From Clara. She told me to meet her at the bridge before the accident." His expression changed instantly. Shock, guilt, and fear flickering across his face. You found proof." I nodded. "You knew, didn't you, that she was there?" He exhaled shakily. "I suspected. She told me it was an argument, that you left angry. But she swore she didn't follow you. I didn't know what to believe." My voice shook. "You believed her enough to marry her." His jaw tightened. "You were gone, Eleanor. Everyone told me to move on, that you'd never wake up. And Clara, she was different back then. Or maybe I wanted to believe she was. Do you still love her?" I asked suddenly. The question hung in the air, raw and painful. He looked at me, then away. "I don't know what I feel anymore. Every time I see you, it feels like I'm looking at the life I was supposed to have." Something in his voice cracked, and my heart clenched. "Then why are you marrying her?" I whispered. He closed his eyes. "Because she's pregnant." The words hit me like a thunderclap. I stared at him, stunned. "What?" He nodded slowly, his face hollow. "She told me 2 weeks ago. I couldn't abandon her. Pregnant, of course." That was how she trapped him. The anger inside me boiled, sharp and blinding. "So that's it? You're marrying her out of guilt?" He didn't answer. Tears welled in my eyes. I was in a coma, Max, fighting for my life, and she was busy stealing it from me. He took a step closer, his voice breaking. "Eleanor, please don't think I ever stopped loving you. I swear." "Don't." I backed away, Love isn't supposed to look like this. You made your choice." And before he could say another word, I turned and walked away, my legs trembling. When I reached my room, I collapsed onto my bed, clutching the old phone in my hand. The text from Clara glared back at me, mocking me with its truth. Pregnant or not, she wasn't innocent. I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding with fury and heartbreak. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. She had taken my man, my life, and even my voice for a whole year, but not anymore. That night, I opened my laptop and began writing everything down. The messages, the memories, the pieces of the puzzle. If Clara thought she could rewrite my story, she was wrong. The next morning, Clara showed up again, all smiles. "Ellie, we're having an engagement photo shoot this weekend. You should come." Her cheerfulness made my stomach churn. "Of course," I said sweetly. "Wouldn't miss it." Her grin faltered just slightly at my calm tone, and as she left the room, humming to herself, I whispered to no one, "Enjoy your perfect moment, Clara, because soon the truth will destroy it." The morning of Clara's engagement photo shoot arrived bright and clear, the kind of day people described as perfect, the kind of day made for beautiful memories. But for me, it felt like a stage, one set for betrayal, lies, and perhaps truth. I dressed carefully, choosing a pale lavender dress that brought warmth to my skin. Not too fancy, not too simple, just enough to remind everyone that I wasn't a shadow of my past self anymore. When I walked into the garden where the shoot was set, Clara was already there, posing in a white dress trimmed with lace, her hair flowing in perfect curls. Max stood beside her, dressed in a sharp suit, looking handsome but hollow. The photographer smiled as he adjusted his lens. "Beautiful couple. Let's try some with the sunlight behind you." "Yes, just like that." I stood quietly to the side, pretending to scroll through my phone while watching everything. Clara caught my gaze and smiled. That sweet, sisterly smile that used to comfort me, but now only made my stomach twist. "Ellie, you came. Isn't this amazing?" I forced a soft smile. "It's unforgettable." As she turned back to the camera, her laughter echoing through the garden, my eyes fell on Max. He looked at me briefly, and I saw something flicker there. Regret, pain, maybe even longing. I quickly looked away. Halfway through the session, Clara excused herself to touch up her makeup. The photographer busied himself adjusting lighting, and for a moment, it was just Max and me. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. "Why?" "Scared your fiancé might notice the way you look at me." His jaw tightened. "Don't do this, Eleanor." I took a slow step closer, my voice low. "Do what, Max? Tell the truth. You're marrying her out of guilt. You're living a lie, and you know it." He turned away, his voice strained. "You don't understand. I can't just walk away now because of the baby," I challenged. He nodded, eyes closing. I made my choice. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "Then live with it. But remember, you didn't lose me to fate. You lost me because you didn't fight for me." Before he could answer, Clara returned, her face glowing with false joy. "What are you two talking about?" "Old times," I said smoothly. She smiled tightly, then slipped her arm around Max's waist. "Oh, how sweet. But we should focus on new beginnings now, shouldn't we?" The photographer resumed snapping pictures. "Perfect. Max, look at her like she's your whole world." And he did, or at least tried to. But his gaze kept flicking to me, his expression faltering every time. Clara noticed. Her smile froze, her eyes flashing with something sharp and dangerous for just a second, before she turned back to the camera. When the session finally ended, she pulled me aside. "You really enjoy making things uncomfortable, don't you, Ellie?" she said, her tone dripping with venom masked by a smile. "Just being supportive," I replied. It's your big day after all." She narrowed her eyes. "Stay out of my way. You had your chance with him. You lost." I tilted my head, voice soft but steady. "Lost? Clara, I was in a coma, not competing with you. But it's funny. No matter how hard you try, you'll always live in my shadow. Because deep down, you know he still loves me." Her mask cracked for a moment. "You think you can come back from the dead and steal him again?" I smiled faintly. "I don't have to steal what's already mine." Her hand twitched like she wanted to slap me. But just then, the photographer called for one last group picture. "Ladies, a sister shot before we wrap up." We both forced our smiles again, standing side by side. I could feel her trembling with anger beside me. As the shutter clicked, I whispered under my breath, "Smile. Clara, it might be the last time you'll have a reason to." That evening, back home, I uploaded the photos the photographer sent. The comments flooded in. "Perfect couple. Beautiful sisters. So much love." I almost laughed. If only they knew. Then as I scrolled, I found one image that made my breath catch. An unedited photo, taken between poses. Clara was adjusting her dress, frowning at Max. He, meanwhile, was looking at me. The kind of look that told the whole story. Tender, broken. I stared at the photo for a long time, my pulse quickening, and then an idea formed. If Clara could play dirty, I could play smarter. If she used lies to build her happiness, I'd use truth to dismantle it. The engagement party was next week. The perfect stage. The perfect audience. And by then, everyone would know who Clara truly was. Not just the perfect sister or glowing bride-to-be, but the woman who had betrayed blood and love alike. But as I looked at that picture again, something unexpected stirred inside me. Sadness. Because for all the vengeance burning in my heart, a small part of me still remembered the girl I once called my best friend. The sister I'd trusted more than anyone. I whispered to the photo, "Why did you do it, Clara? Was he really worth everything you destroyed?" The room was silent, but the shadows seemed to answer back. "You'll find out soon enough." The night of Max's engagement party arrived like a cruel joke, written by fate itself. The hotel ballroom gleamed with golden lights, laughter echoing off the crystal chandeliers. My sister, Olivia, sparkled in her engagement dress, the same ivory shade I had once worn to the university ball with Max years ago. It was poetic and devastating. I stood near the entrance, my mother's diamond earrings glinting faintly under the lights, clutching a small clutch bag that hid the folded medical report inside. My pulse thundered, and every inhale burned. Max stood on stage, smiling stiffly as guests congratulated him. Yet even from afar, I could see it. The slight tremor in his hands, the hollow in his gaze when Olivia wasn't looking. When our eyes met, it was like the room fell silent. Everything else blurred. The laughter, the music, the chatter. All gone. For a second, I saw the Max who once sat by my hospital bed, whispering for me to wake up. And then, I remembered. It hit me like lightning. Fragments of my coma dreams that weren't dreams at all. The smell of hospital disinfectant. The sound of his voice breaking. The words he thought I couldn't hear. "Please, Eleanor, come back to me. I'll wait for you." He did wait, until Olivia got in the way. My stomach twisted. This was it. Tonight, I would face the truth. Not just about him, but about everything that was stolen from me. As the ceremony began, I slipped out quietly toward the garden terrace. Needing air, needing distance. But fate wasn't done with me, Eleanor. His voice, low, startled, trembling slightly. I froze. Max stood at the doorway, his tie slightly loosened, eyes locked on mine. "I didn't know you'd come," he said, stepping closer. "I wasn't sure if I should," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I would have felt like crashing a fairy tale. he exhaled, almost laughing. Some fairy tale. The silence between us pulsed like static. I could feel the weight of every unsaid word pressing down. Why her, Max? I finally asked, my voice cracking. Why Olivia? He swallowed hard, eyes darting away. Because you were gone, Eleanor. And she was there. She reminded me of you sometimes. She said you would have wanted me to move on. I laughed bitterly. Oh, that sounds like her? His brows furrowed. You don't understand. No, Max, you don't understand. I cut in. I woke up and found my entire life replaced. My fiancé, my career, my family's loyalty, everything. You didn't even come see me when I was awake. I wanted to, he said softly. But she told me you didn't want to see me, that you hated me for moving on. My breath caught. She said what? She said you were recovering, that you didn't want reminders of your past. I believed her because I didn't think she'd lie about you. I took a shaky step back, the world spinning. Max, she lied about everything. He looked at me, guilt flashing across his features. Eleanor, I'm sorry. I should have come myself. I should have asked you, not her. Tears pooled in my eyes. But you didn't. The music from inside swelled. The band had started playing their engagement song. Olivia's laughter floated through the air like poison. Max's voice trembled. Do you still love me? The question hit harder than I expected. Did I? After everything, I looked at him. The man who once promised forever, but stood engaged to my sister. My heart whispered yes, but my soul screamed no. I think I used to, I said finally. But now, I'm not sure what love even means anymore. He stepped closer, desperate. Please, Eleanor, don't walk away like this. You don't know how much I know. I interrupted softly. You loved me once, but you didn't fight for me. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving him frozen under the golden lights. Inside, Olivia spotted me leaving and excused herself from her guests, her smile twisting into something cruel. She followed me into the hallway. Eleanor, she hissed, grabbing my arm. What did you tell him? I yanked free. Just the truth. Something you should have tried once in your life. Her eyes darkened. Don't ruin this for me. He loves me now? Does he? I said quietly, stepping closer. Or does he love the version of me you pretended to be? Her lips parted, but no words came. I smiled faintly and brushed past her. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat by the lake behind the venue, watching the reflection of fireworks shimmer over the water. In that moment, I realized something powerful. Maybe this wasn't about winning him back. Maybe this was about winning myself back. And from that night forward, I vowed to do exactly that. But fate wasn't done yet. Because the next morning, a scandal broke out that would shake everyone. And uncover a secret even I wasn't ready for. The morning after the engagement party, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I had ignored it at first, thinking it was another social media notification about the glamorous engagement. But when the sixth call came from my friend Lila, I finally answered. Eleanor, turn on the news, she said, breathless. Right now. Confused, I grabbed the remote. The TV flickered to life, and my heart nearly stopped. The headline read, Engagement Scandal. Olivia Hart accused of manipulating sister's medical records. I froze. Photos of me in my hospital bed appeared on the screen, followed by documents and hospital forms. Ones I recognized but had never signed. The reporter's voice continued. Sources claim Olivia Hart intercepted confidential documents and restricted access to her sister, Eleanor Hart, who had been in a coma following a car accident. It is alleged that Olivia used Eleanor's medical condition to advance her relationship with Eleanor's fiancé, Max Carter. My breath hitched. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Lila's voice trembled on the phone. Ellie, it's everywhere. Someone leaked everything. The fake medical updates. The altered visitor logs. even the messages she sent from your phone while you were in a coma. I pressed a shaking hand to my mouth. No, this can't be real. It's real, Lila whispered. And the source was anonymous. Someone wanted the truth out. I sank onto the couch, my body trembling. Anonymous. Who could have done this? Before I could even think, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Max standing there, his tie gone, eyes red-rimmed, holding a folder. Eleanor, we need to talk. I hesitated but stepped aside. He walked in slowly, setting the folder on my table. I didn't know any of this, he said, voice raw. Not until last night after you left. I confronted Olivia about what you said, and she snapped. She admitted she forged your medical permissions. Told the doctors you wanted no visitors, except family. She said you told her to end things with me. My heart sank. She actually said that? He nodded. I recorded it. He opened the folder, revealing a USB drive. I wanted to give this to you before the news got it, but someone else beat me to it. So you weren't the one who leaked it? I asked quietly. He shook his head. No, but I think I know who did. He slid another photo toward me. A nurse. The same one who had cared for me during my coma. She reached out to me a week ago, said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. She knew Olivia changed your visitor list, and even paid her to keep quiet. My stomach churned. I remembered that nurse. She was kind but distant. I never understood why. Now I did. I'm so sorry, Eleanor, Max whispered, his eyes glistening. I failed you in every possible way. I should have fought harder. I should have questioned things. Tears blurred my vision. You should have known me better, I said softly. I would never tell anyone to end what we had. He stepped closer, voice breaking. I know that now, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. If you'll let me. Before I could respond, there was a sharp knock at the door. I turned, and there stood Olivia, her perfect hair undone, her face pale and streaked with tears. You, she hissed at Max. You told her everything. He faced her, calm but cold. No, you told the world yourself. Her voice trembled. You don't understand, Max. I did it for us. For us? I snapped. Or just for you? She turned to me, her expression crumbling. You always got everything, Ellie. The love, the admiration, the light. I was just the shadow. When you went into that coma, for once, I had something of my own. By taking my life, I asked bitterly. Her shoulders sagged, tears spilling freely now. I didn't mean to fall for him. It just happened. But when you woke up, I was terrified. I thought he'd leave me for you. Max's voice cut through the tension, sharp and hollow. You were right. I would have. Olivia gasped, clutching her chest, as if the words physically struck her. He turned back to me. But now, Eleanor, I don't even know if I deserve you. The silence that followed was unbearable. 3 lives shattered by lies, guilt, and time that couldn't be undone. Finally, Olivia whispered, I'll leave. I'll face the press, the fallout, all of it. I ruined everything, didn't I? I looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, she didn't look like my enemy. She looked like a broken girl who'd been chasing love the wrong way. Olivia, I said quietly, you didn't just ruin me, you ruined yourself. She nodded weakly, tears falling as she turned and walked out. Max exhaled, looking lost. So, what now? I stared at the fading image of my sister outside. Now I start over, on my own terms. He nodded slowly, his voice trembling. And me? I met his gaze. You'll have to figure out who you are without me. The same way I'm learning to live without you. He nodded, pain flickering across his face. If that's what you need, I'll respect it. He left quietly. And for the first time, I felt peace. Not the kind that comes from revenge, but from release. Yet even as I watched him go, something deep inside whispered, this wasn't the end of our story. It was the pause before the truth I hadn't uncovered yet. The real reason behind my coma. Because just a week later, I would learn that my accident wasn't an accident at all. A week had passed since the engagement scandal broke, and life felt like it was finally slowing down. The chaos, the betrayal, the media frenzy. It had all begun to settle. I spent most days quietly at home, sifting through the hospital records and messages I had collected. Every page, every note, every text brought me closer to the truth. And now, the final piece was within reach. It was a rainy afternoon when the nurse who had leaked the documents contacted me. She wanted to meet, somewhere private. I agreed, driving to a small cafe on the edge of town. The sound of the rain against the windows was calming, a strange contrast to the storm of emotions inside me. She arrived, slipping into the booth across from me, her face pale and anxious. "Eleanor," she said softly, "I'm glad you came. Tell me everything," I demanded, my hands gripping my coffee cup tightly. "I need the truth, not excuses, not half-truths. The real reason I went into that coma." She swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "It wasn't just the accident. It was deliberate." My heart skipped a beat. "Deliberate? Yes," she whispered. "Your sister, she pushed you. She didn't mean to kill you, not exactly. But she wanted to scare you, to get Max. You fell, hit your head on the car frame, and went into a coma." I felt my stomach drop. The images from that night, the argument, her shouting, the flash of headlights. Everything snapped into place. She followed me to the bridge?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. The nurse nodded. "She waited until you were alone. When you stumbled, she didn't stop you. She left you there. And then she manipulated the hospital records, so no one would check on you properly." A bitter laugh escaped me. "All this time, she almost stole my life." She tried. The nurse said softly, "But you're strong, Eleanor. You woke up, and now you can take back everything she tried to take from you." I nodded, feeling a fire ignite within me. This was no longer just about love or betrayal. It was about justice. My justice. That evening I returned home and called Max. Surprisingly, he answered immediately. "Eleanor." His voice was cautious, wary. "I know everything now," I said calmly. "About the accident, about Clara, about everything." There was silence on the line. Then he whispered, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to see what she did." "You have to," I said firmly, "because if we don't hold her accountable, she'll keep hurting people. And Max, I need to know, where do you stand now?" I don't know," he admitted. "I never stopped caring for you, even when I thought you were gone. But now, I don't want to hurt anyone anymore. I want the truth to come out fully. I want the same," I said. "But I'm not sure it's about us anymore. It's about making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else." He sighed. "I understand, and I'll help you. Whatever you need." We worked together over the next few days, gathering evidence, corroborating testimonies, and piecing together the timeline of that night. By the time the authorities were involved, there was no denying the truth. Clara had tried to manipulate everything. My coma, Max's emotions, our family's trust. But she had underestimated the strength of the person I had become. The day the police came to confront her, I watched quietly as the walls she had built around her perfect image crumbled. She was arrested for endangering my life, fraud, and manipulation. The wedding was cancelled, and the town buzzed with the scandal. Max and I stood outside, rain dripping down our shoulders, silent but united. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, eyes meeting mine. "For everything. You can't change the past," I replied softly. "But we can choose our future." He reached for my hand, hesitant but hopeful. I didn't pull away, not yet, because the truth had set me free. I had survived betrayal, loss, and a coma that tried to erase my life. I had uncovered lies that threatened to destroy me, and I had faced the sister who thought she could take everything, and now I was standing tall, stronger than ever, ready to reclaim my life. The world hadn't ended when I woke up. In fact, it had just begun. As Max squeezed my hand gently, I realized that love wasn't about possession, or fear, or guilt. It was about honesty, trust, and the courage to face the world together, or to face it alone, but stronger than ever. And for the first time since I opened my eyes in that hospital bed, I smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because I was alive, and nothing, no betrayal, no lie, no coma, could ever take that away from me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.